Evening. Welcome to Oconee County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, August the 27th. After a moment of silence, we're going to ask Mark Saxon. Ask Mark Saxon to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic.
Our first item of business tonight will be to approve the agenda. I would like to ask for an amendment to the agenda under countywide matters number 5, to add recertification of the Board of Education millage rate.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda in the amended form.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is statements and remarks from citizens. This is for anything not on the agenda tonight.
Good evening, Board. Victoria Cruz, Oconee County, over in Lake Wellbrook. I want to just preface my comments by saying this is not a personal attack against anybody here. It is more practice session for me to learn how to speak in front of people who I consider to be authority figures. And I do consider you all to be authority figures. Not something that was nurtured in me as a child, so I am spreading my wings right now. So practice session. Thank you very much for your patience. A lot has happened since the last time I spoke in front of the board. The Republican nominee for president was almost assassinated publicly as we watched, and the investigation has been shoved under the rug. Just ponder that for a while. I was a kid when JFK was assassinated. I remember how it shook the country. And then RFK, and then MLK. Sounds to me like the federal government is up to its dirty tricks again. Anyway, so the Democrat nominee at the time has been sidelined and now replaced with someone who has never earned one vote from the public. Also chew on that for a while. And right now in Georgia, I want to update you on what's happening with the state election board. Mr. Hago to be happy I'm leaving our election board out of things right now, but he and I are going to get into that later. But the state election board, for the first time in recent memory, now has a 3-to-1 majority. The chairman is supposed to be a non-voting member who only is there to break a tie, but he has been voicing an opinion the other way, siding with the only Democrat, the Democrat Party appointee. And so for the first time in my memory, and I've attended a lot of state election board meetings, we now have a 3-to-1 majority. So now citizens are able to be heard. They are putting forth rules changes. People are conflating this with law. The state election board doesn't make law. The state election board interprets the law into rules, just like the rest of the government does, so that the laws can be followed the way they were written and the way they were intended. That's what the state election board does. So what we have now is every NGO in the world rising up and the mainstream media crucifying the 3 conservative members of the state election board. Possibly because President Trump called them out at a rally and called them bulldogs. Well, where he was in Georgia. Normally, if you call it a bulldog, it means a good thing. But when President Trump said it, it was a bad thing. So they are only doing what the majority of the citizens want done. They want the rules established that allow for the laws to be followed. And now they are being sued by the Democrat National Committee. And I'm pretty sure I got to leave here right afterwards because the RNC is going to weigh in on this because this just happened yesterday. I think we're in a world of hurt. We are, because there are outside forces coming in to this state and eventually it'll reach this county, that are trying to influence the way we run our elections. The people should be in charge of how the elections are run. And that's not happening. So I just want to give you perspective on that so that you can hear the news and see that there's another side besides the story that you're being told out in the public. And I have to tell you, this is the most important presidential election in my lifetime. You can look around you and everybody can ask, are we better off now than we were before? I'm on Social Security now, and so is my husband. You know, we will live on that and however long our savings last. But illegals are being entered into this country. They are being registered to vote, and they will be voting. They will be voting. And I just wanted to make you aware of that. We're doing our part to keep that from happening, but please don't turn a blind eye to what is happening here. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I'm Stephen Elshire with her, and I'm not a Christian nationalist. You've probably heard, this is meant to be informational and is not a complaint. As my wife Victoria just alluded to, Mr. Haygood has some knowledge of this. You've probably heard about maintenance of voter rolls. Voter rolls are, of course, the list of supposedly eligible voters in the county. They are currently maintained electronically in a computerized listing. They are not supposed to include dead people. They're not supposed to include people who no longer live in the state or even in the county, nor are individuals who are otherwise included, such as non-citizens. Felons are also excluded. All these problems are stated by the Georgia Secretary of State's office to be curated and properly maintained by the ERIC system. The ERIC system is called the Electronic Registration Information Center, and it was founded approximately 2013. Registration information is maintained by the ERIC system, and their impetus is to register people, but they seem very tardy in moving people off of the voter rolls. People who are eligible for automatic enrollment include those at motor vehicle licensing and registration centers. The Social Security encounters that occur, death files from Social Security are also supposed to remove people, but if you look at the actual numbers, there's always an increase in the amount of people who are registered to vote. Rather than maintaining the rolls as expected, the rolls are expanded without appropriate and lawful reduction of citizens who should be removed. And by citizens, I mean registrations. By contrast, okay, so there are 21 participating states. A couple have come and gone over the past 10 years. And initially, it was said repeatedly that this would be maintained by the Secretary of State's office. Now, however, they've pushed it down to the counties and saying, oh, by the way, even though we control the big computer in the sky, it's really the counties who have to do their own registration maintenance. So it's become almost a cat and mouse thing. And it's like a roach hotel. Once you get into the registration on this ERIC system, it's very difficult to get people off. And this causes the local people, Sharon, and so forth, to be effectively, very stressed about this whole thing. There's a lot of Georgia Secretary of State doublespeak. Voter registration maintenance is not voter suppression, and it is not, despite what some people will say, a variant of Jim Crow 2.0. The effect is an attempt to make every legal vote count as 1.0, so that there's not an offset by some dead person, some illegal person who's on that voter roll. So we find ourselves participating in trying to work this out. It is definitely a very difficult cat and mouse game. And you could almost say we're chasing windmills, but we're giving it a shot. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Thank you. Any statements or remarks from commissioners? Just a reminder, the government offices will be closed on Monday for Labor Day, and we will not meet next week. We'll be back on the following week. With that, we'll move into our first item, which is discuss the Millers Lake Drive Culvert Replacement Bid Award.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We put out for an invitation to bid for the culvert project at Miller's Lake. The lowest responsible bidder was Bain Development Group LLC with a bid of $799,373 for the project. We are requesting awarding the contract to Bain along with all future budget amendments for the life of the contract up to the amount of the project amount. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do you have any questions on this item? Might be all right for consent agenda. Any public comment on this item? Next time is discuss the Farmland Preservation Committee recommendation for FY 25.
Good evening. How are you?
Great.
My name is Thad Paget. I come before you today representing the Oconee County Farmland Preservation Committee. I do have some maps to pass out if that's possible. I'll start down here, pass it around. As those are coming around, just a brief history on the program here in Oconee County. Since 2004, Oconee County has approved matching funds. Those funds have been used to protect 930 acres. With this proposed farm, we'll be inching closer to 1,000 acres protected here in Oconee County. The most recent farm that's due to close later this year is the Nedza farm. It's about 47 acres on Collin Ferry Road, which is represented on your map there as well. And, you know, since in the last 20 years, since this program has been in place, this would be the 16th farm that has been protected in the county as well. Two other neighboring counties have also reached out to us and have asked about our program and how it works to initiate a similar program in their counties as well. Most recently, Morgan County. I actually went up there a couple of months ago and did a presentation for Morgan County. And they have implemented a similar program in that county to preserve farmland. So tonight, really, we are proposing the BJB Rollins farm to the commissioners. This farm is located off Salem Road. Miss Rollins, unfortunately, is not able to be with us tonight, but this farm has been in her family for 100 years. And, you know, she takes pride and potentially seeing her farm being preserved, and that legacy that will remain, of course. Kind of put it in perspective and to kind of give you some bearings on the map there. The 40 acres that Miss Rollins and her family that they are submitting makes up several contiguous tracts that have been part of the program here in Oconee County. You know, interestingly, this 40-acre of pasture land right here, you know, again, along Salem Road, kind of the intersection of Old Salem and Salem Road, was leased by the USDA Research Service back in the 90s, I believe, is when that went into place. And the reason for that is due to its prime soils and high quality characteristics of the farm. Again, you know, the west side of the BJB Rollins farm adjoins Mr. Mitchell's farm. It was a 180-acre tract that was also put into a permanent easement under this program. Ms. Rollins, as you can see, also put in a 60-acre tract on kind of the other side of Salem Road with close proximity to the current 40 acres. With all that being said, as I before you tonight representing the Farmland Preservation Committee, you know, asking and requesting that this 40 acres of the BJB Rollins farm be approved by the Board of Commissioners for the local match. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
And also here, if any other questions come up, we do have a representative with the Athens Land Trust. So any other questions, happy to answer as well. Thank you, Dan.
You're all right for consent agenda to accept the recommendation? You're welcome to. Come on up.
I'm Nancy Stengel. I live in Athens, Clarke County, but I was a co-founder and executive director for Athens Land Trust, and now I'm still there 30 years later as a board member. And Thomas reached out to me. We are having, as I mentioned, some of our staff have been hired by the national organization to do this kind of farmland protection work nationally, because Athens Land Trust was one of the first certified entities by NRCS. And the farms that we protect here in Oconee County get extra points in the ranking because of that. So our staff has been hired to do this nationally, and we are just about to hire a new staff person, but that person hasn't come on board yet. And this program is very dear to my heart. I know those of you that remember me before my hair turned gray, I came to these meetings with Russ Page and came to the farmland protection meetings years ago. And you guys, what has taken place in Oconee County is truly a national model. And as I was saying to some of you, we used to bring people in from other counties to talk about how they did it. And now you certainly are the leaders in Georgia and in the country as well. And I just have to say, Oconee County is really dear to my heart because I started teaching I was the first counselor at the Column Ferry Elementary School in 1978. And Deborah Taylor Harden was the school psychologist. And I did home visits throughout the county, working with children. And it's a beautiful county. And the fact that you guys are making the commitment to protect the prime farmland that you have is truly remarkable. And it's a wonderful thing for quality of life, the environment, national security. And I just want to really say how much I appreciate over these last 20 years you making the commitment to the families of Oconee County who want to protect their farms. And many of them have owned these farms. Their families have owned these farms for more than 100 years. And it's been a real honor for me to work with these families and all of you to protect the land. So if you have any questions about the process, I'm here. And if I don't know the answer, I will find out. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is discuss the Viper upgrade for the sheriff's office. So this is a budgeted item we've been expecting for a few months or a few years, actually. We're going to contract with, so tonight's question or request is to approve the contract to consider approval of the E911 call handling system upgrade with AT&T. The cost will be $174,191. And you'd also be authorizing the chairman to execute the contract. The upfront one-time cost of the $174,191 funding is already included in the FY25 budget. So monthly service costs, including hardware, software, maintenance of $33.67. This monthly is a monthly increase of $1,293. The increase is funded in the FY25 budget as well. This pricing agreement will last for 5 years. So, any questions on this item? Do we have any public comment? Next item is discuss the new alcohol license for the Village Market.
Thank you and good evening. The Village Market has made application for a new alcohol license for retail package on premises of beer and wine. The registered agent, Nilesh Kita, has completed the RAS training. The Village Market will be located at 2421 Malcolm Bridge Road, Suite 210 in Bogart, and the application is complete aside from the issuance of a business license. So the request is for approval of this alcohol license.
Any questions? Ollie, on this one? You all right for consent agenda? Do we have any public comment? Next item is discuss partial two modification of the Oconee County sewer line easement.
Good evening, Commissioners. I get, what's on the agenda, is really in regards to the Watkinsville Sewer Line A, which goes from our lift station on Jerry Smith at the end of the cul-de-sac all the way to Wire Park. Construction has been complete on this. We're just tying up some loose ends. A field change was conducted, to really just make the construction a little easier, to miss some utilities and some rock and things, and we need an easement revision to reflect that change. So I'm just requesting that, we accept the new easement as it's drawn up by Daniel.
And to also reconvey the part of the old easement that we no longer.
It's a land swap.
Any questions on this?
So that means it was revenue neutral as far as the.
Revenue neutral. The sewer line is just not.
It's not exactly,
Okay. It's a slight adjustment, to make it do where it should do. I would ask, just because this is already in place and I don't know of any reason to wait, that y'all go ahead and consider this and approve the two documents that are attached. That way we get it done, it's over with, and get it reported. We don't have part of a sewer line on somebody else's property.
Any other questions on this? Do we have any public comment? Thank you. I will entertain a motion for approval on this.
I'll make a motion, we approve partial two modification of the Oconee County sewer line easement.
We have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next item is the amended number 5, which is to reauthorize the Board of Education millage rate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The Board of Education has adopted their millage rate of 14.25. And as just a housekeeping matter, I'd request that the board confirm that again. Thank you. I believe it should be tonight.
Any questions on this item? Do we have any public comment? We'll entertain a motion to reaffirm the millage rate of 14.25 for the Oconee County for Education.
Second.
A motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carried. Do need executive session to discuss land acquisition and personnel matter.
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session for land acquisition personnel.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries. Need a motion to go back in regular session?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Commissioner Saxon,
Motion adjourned.
you are adjourned.